we might have left the European Union, but as far as I'm concerned, we're very much Europeans, and we want to be Europeans and work with Europeans. I wanted to come back to this sort of international partnerships thing, and a couple of you have mentioned the streamers, and I'm just thinking about that sort of sustainability. I mean, I'm getting the impression that whilst, Maria, your focus is very much on feature films, am I right in thinking with all of you that in order to sustain your businesses, you have to have international partnerships? You couldn't be just located in your territory and make what you do without having both industrial economic partnerships, but also genuine creative partnerships with other businesses. And if so, do you want to comment on that?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, I think there are producers in the UK who rely exclusively on the public funds in the UK, and if they don't get them, they're like, oh, what do I do? But I mean, any smart producer would look outside of the UK as well as the UK. You know, I mean, we're in a global business. You know, I mean, whatever you think about the platforms, Netflix, I think, especially has changed the way we watch programming or film from around the world, and you can't deny that. It's kind of a spectacular sea change that shows like Lupin from France or Squid Game from Korea can be, or Adolescence from the UK, can be global phenomenons instantly. It's sort of changed the way we look at other cultures. It's changed the way we watch film and TV. So I'm kind of, it's a no-brainer. You have to look outside of the UK. I think if anything, of course, I came late to being a producer, so I did look at previous producers in the UK and thought, well, why didn't you take advantage of being in the EU more? Because it was there for you, you know, all these benefits and all these collaborations. And I felt there is there's a breed of producer in the UK who look to the US and collaborate with the US, and I think that's really short-sighted, frankly. I mean, the US and Europe is, you know.
Yeah. And I'm right in thinking, Maria, that is a fundamental part of your business strategy, is that international collaboration.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Norway is a super small country with limited funds, and we would not be able to do the films that we do from Norway only. And I think it's been, it's always just add on both financially but also creatively to work with other countries. So we do that for all our productions and are very dependent on it. In the end of the day, for example, Norway has a lot of soft funding, but in the end of the day, it's only, like for sentimental value, it's 20% of the funding in the end. But it's a super important base, of course, because it gives you something to build on, which is soft money that are free, also in terms of autonomy and decision.
And Judith, you're going to come in?
Yeah,
please.
From a financial perspective, obviously, with the UK tax credit, something I mentioned before, it's up to 80% of your core expenditure in the UK. So there's 20% that you could, spend elsewhere and access another tax treaty or tax incentive from another country. And it's almost like, why wouldn't you? Other than, perhaps it's more hassle. But I'm in admiration of all you producers who actually are very creative and flexible in trying to find that additional funding of that at least 20% if you're not maximizing it already.
And Thomas, obviously in terms of where you're located, your own origins, etc., you're kind of inevitably kind of international in terms of the way you think. But I'm just wondering, what you said about diversification is very interesting because the other thing I think we're seeing in the UK is that not just applied to other industries, but also that feature film, television, but also games and the way people are thinking about IP and developing games IP and vice versa. I mean, there's an event in the Games Festival we're involved in the UK, and I'm wondering, do you think that kind of content, I hate the word convergence, but that content linking is for talent is going to accelerate?
I think so, and I think, look, it's never binary. I think some talent are very diverse in their thinking, some are very pure, and I think our job is to create industries that can facilitate both. And look, I was going to say something about the international partnership, and this is a compliment to you, Adrian. I think the BFC does. I do these things because I think it's really important to spotlight the work that you guys do, because a lot of the barrier to entry for producers is the complications of all of those things, is understanding that. Often there are smaller companies that don't have huge amount of resources, and so it's very difficult to access the funding. So the work that you guys do and the collaboration, I've always admired what you guys do in terms of spotlighting this to the world. I really mean that. I wouldn't come on at 11 o'clock on a Sunday just no, but I think I do it. And I think that's what's important. And you know, I see, like, as a European, like the lobbying that I think the creative industry have done to still stay connected despite Brexit and so on is essential actually to build those things. So I just wanted to shout it out.
Thank you. That's very, and certainly that's very kind. Thank you. No, I think that from the British Film Commission's point of view, and I said it at the beginning, we're very excited about those opportunities. It's fantastic to have all the wonderful investment that comes in, and you saw it on the showreel, but to actually build these new, or renew and refresh these creative relationships with our friends throughout Europe, and to really feel we have an opportunity of doing that, I think is exciting for all of us in the UK, certainly, because we might have left the European Union, but as far as I'm concerned, we're very much Europeans, and we want to be Europeans and work with Europeans.